And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we will be discussing a document that was recently obtained by The Intercept, where it was revealed that the Pentagon has been wargaming for a Bitcoin rebellion led by Generation Z. I have been on this channel for months now, preaching about the importance of Bitcoin, why it's important for you to participate in a open, permissionless, borderless, decentralized cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. And I consistently attract trolls who will come onto my videos and say things like, oh, what is Bitcoin used for? Or that Bitcoin is a scam. And it always strikes me as odd as to why people don't want Bitcoin to succeed, as if the current economic system and monetary system that we're living in, this debt-based, fiat-based, fractional reserve lending-based economy that we're living in is somehow better, as if we don't see that we have the greatest levels of income inequality in modern history, as if we're not watching the Fed literally come out today and announce that they're going to start buying corporate bonds, but they're going to do it in secret. So you don't know how much they're going to bail these companies out, how much money they're going to use, who's going to get bailed out, how long this is going to last for. You don't know. And we're watching the stock market now drift to almost all-time highs, yet the economy's been shut down. 40 million people have lost their jobs. And we see that there's a problem with this system. And it's a reason why they're particularly going after Generation Z, and they're going to cover this in the article. But, I always laugh at people when they attack Bitcoin. Bitcoin and crypto in general is our last hope at beating the globalists. If crypto doesn't succeed, it's over. And that's just a reality. If we allow the banksters, and if we allow the corporatists, and if we allow the crony capitalists to corporatize crypto, we lose. That's just the reality. Decentralization is the only way for the people to take back their freedoms and their rights. And these articles that I'm going to get into in this document should click and get you to understand, because, you hear people say all the time, oh, the NSA and the Pentagon and the Dharma and all these different initiatives, DARPA, they created Bitcoin, and who is Satoshi Nakamoto? And clearly, if the government is wargaming against crypto, that they view it as a threat. And we've seen what happened with other countries who they try to take themselves away from the US dollar. We see what the United States does to other countries. So clearly, Bitcoin is a threat, and it's clearly not created by the government. But that's a whole nother conversation that we're going to cover in this video. So as you guys come in, please do me a favor and like this video, share this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, make sure that you join my mailing list so that you never miss any of my videos when I'm going live. I will send you an email and let you know, hey guys, we're live. Also, I just recently launched My Tech Academy. We have a 7-day free trial where I will teach you about crypto and blockchain technology. If you are interested in that, a link to My Tech Academy will be in the description below. And with that being said, if you guys can hear me and see me nice and clearly, type 1 and we'll get into the presentation. So just make sure that everyone can see and hear me clearly, and we'll get started. Okay, there we go. So you can see me and hear me nice and clear. So let's get started. So it says, Pentagon documents reveal the U.S. has planned for a Bitcoin rebellion. So I'm not going to read this article. I'm actually going to read the Intercept article, but I want to start with this because this part of the article right here is really, really important. So that right here. It says, the Pentagon war game documents have been revealed after Florida Republican Representative Matt Gaetz called for the government to freeze the money of demonstrators after countrywide protests over the killing of George Floyd turned violent this month. One of the most important tools in the authoritarian toolkit is the ability to freeze the funding of legitimate political dissent. Nathaniel Whittemore, a Bitcoin and cryptocurrency consultant and strategist, said previously, by separating the infrastructure of money from the infrastructure of the state power, Bitcoin makes it that much harder for this type of politically motivated confiscation. Bitcoin has seen a surge of interest in recent months due to the coronavirus pandemic and never before seen levels of government borrowing. In the wake of unprecedented central bank action around the COVID-19 crisis, it seemed like the most relevant narrative of Bitcoin in 2020 was as a hedge against inflation, Whitmore said. It appears, however, that its capacity for censorship resistance might be just as relevant. So let's unpack that real quick, and give me a second. My throat's kind of dry. I want to highlight this. Here you have a Republican representative, Matt Gaetz, calling for the government to freeze money, freeze the protesters' accounts. So when you hear people say, why Bitcoin? This is exactly why you need Bitcoin. We just watched George Floyd literally have a cop put his knee on his neck and kill him. And the reason why Generation Z, and these are people born after 1996, the reason why they're so upset, and I'm going to get to this in a second with the article, is that we have cell phones now. You can't hide what's happening anymore. You can't just sweep stuff under the rug. We can see income inequality. Walk through your neighborhood and you can see, although the stock market is almost back at record highs, the average person is struggling. You can see with your own two eyes that cop put his knee on George Floyd's neck and kill him. You can see income inequality, wealth inequality. You can see people struggling to pay their mortgage, to pay their rent, people stuck with student loan debt. So when you see millennials and Generation Z out here protesting, it's a reason why. And now we have, like I just said earlier, we have the Fed coming out and talking about they're going to buy corporate bonds. Who does that benefit? Does that benefit everyday Americans? It doesn't benefit people. So people are rightfully upset. And now you have politicians who, rather than respecting people's right to protest, they're talking about they want to freeze the demonstrators' money. This is what they want to do. So it's important that you understand and you pay attention to this, because it's only going to keep happening. And this is why we need neutral money. We need money that isn't controlled by government, that isn't controlled by any bank. We need money that's peer-to-peer, where you and I can enter and leave as we see fit. Where you go to the wrong protest, they can just shut you out. PayPal can say, hey, you was at that protest, we're freezing your account. JP Morgan can say, hey, you're part of Black Lives Matter, we're shutting down your account. And there's nothing you can do to stop them. So this is why we need money that is neutral. So here's the actual article from The Intercept, and it's really, really interesting. And I'm going to read it, and I'm going to stop and keep coming back to the article. It says, in the face of protests composed largely of young people, the presence of America's military on the streets of major cities has been a controversial development. But this isn't the first time that Generation Z, those born after 1996, has popped up on the Pentagon's radar. Documents obtained by The Intercept via the Freedom of Information Act reveal that a Pentagon war game called the 2018 Joint Land, Air, and Sea Strategic Special Programs, or JLAS, offered a scenario in which members of Generation Z, driven by malaise and discontent, launch a rebellion in America in the mid-2020s. Now you have to think for a second. This is what is known as predictive programming. Either the powers that be are trying to steer Generation Z in this direction, or they can see the trend is headed in that direction and they're trying to get ahead of it. Whichever way you want to try to spin this, or whichever direction you want to go. The bottom line is, if they're preparing for it, that sort of tells you that this is going to happen. And again, you have to ask yourself, why? Now, let's say you're one of these conspiracy theorists and you believe that somehow George Soros is manipulating Black Lives Matter. At the end of the day, George Soros cannot manipulate me. I'm a black man. I know racism exists. I watched George Floyd die. I watched that cop put his knee on his neck. George Soros cannot manipulate that for me. George Soros cannot make me feel that way. I watched Tamir Rice playing with a gun, a toy gun, or a BB gun, I'm not sure which one it was, literally get gunned down by the police in Ohio, where they didn't even give him a chance to drop it. Whether it was a BB gun or a toy gun, they didn't even give him a chance to drop the weapon. I watched the police pull up in the car and gun him down. I've seen that with my own eyes. So you can't tell me that George Soros is manipulating me somehow and steering me in that direction. I seen that. Right? I was able to see that. We all was able to witness it and watch it with our own two eyes. So can George Soros be manipulating Black Lives Matter for political gain? Absolutely. But that anger that you see with black people, it's real. Because again, I'm not one of these social justice warriors. I'm not one of these people who, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that black on black crime doesn't exist. The difference is that as a black man, if I kill another black man, I go to jail. I don't get to go sit on desk duty. When David Pantaleo choked out Eric Gardner, he sat on the NYPD for 3+ years and got paid. When Akai Gurley was walking down his steps in Brooklyn and Peter Liang got scared because he heard the door close and he killed that guy and didn't give him CPR, he got probation. See, that's the difference. And see, when you understand that, then you can understand the frustration. When you see videos of the police here in New York City in Jewish communities and they're not practicing social distancing and they're talking to them, or down in Battery Park, they're not practicing social distancing, and you see NYPD handing out masks and giving them hand sanitizer, but up in Harlem or parts of Brooklyn where black people live, they're beating them with batons because they're not social distancing. See, that's the difference. So people can see that now with cell phones. So this anger is real. And to try to dismiss that frustration and try to talk about, only 8 unarmed black people were killed in 2019. That's not the argument. The argument is police brutality. Because see, let's spin this a different way, because I know a lot of you say, what does this have to do with the conversation? It has everything to do with why people are protesting and why people are looking for alternatives to this financial system. Let's say George Floyd didn't die. He did try to pass the fake 20. He did resist arrest. You think that the police should be able to put their knee on your neck, even if he didn't die? That's still police brutality. He's handcuffed. And there's 4 cops. There's no reason to put your knee on that man's neck for 8 minutes and 47 seconds. Even if he survived, that's police brutality. And that's what people are protesting. And to have politicians saying now that we need to start freezing demonstrators' accounts, that should wake you up as to why Bitcoin is important, why opting out of this financial system is extremely important, when you have governments basically saying that they're going to penalize you for using your freedom of speech. Think about that. It says the Zebellion was a small part of JLAS 2018, which also featured scenarios. Let me move this. This thing is in the way. Involving Islamist militants in Africa, anti-capitalist extremists, and ISIS successors. The war game was conducted by students and faculty from the U.S. military's war colleges, the training grounds for prospective generals and admirals. While it is explicitly not a national intelligence estimate, the war game, which covers the future through early 2028, is intended to reflect a plausible depiction of major trends and influences in the world regions, according to more than 200 pages of documents. So as I just said to you before, either they're steering people in this direction or they see it's trending in this direction. Pay attention. It says, according to the scenario, many members of Generation Z, psychologically scarred in their youth by 9/11 and the Great Recession, crushed by college debt, and disenchanted with their employment options, have given up their hopes for a good life and believe the system is rigged against them. Here's how the origins of the uprising are described. So think about that. Right now we have 40 million people unemployed. And they're watching 6 weeks go by for them to get their first stimulus check, $1,200. But they're watching today, I'll pull up the article for you right now. They're watching this happen. The Fed will begin buying broad portfolio of corporate bonds. They're watching corporations get bailed out, participate in the PPP program, just to still lay off people. We've seen it happen in 2008, where General Motors and other car manufacturers got bailed out and shipped jobs overseas. People are struggling, but yet stock market's going to almost all-time highs. Jeff Bezos' net worth is increasing. People are rightfully frustrated and upset. Look at student loan debt. It's at $1.6 trillion. People are looking for alternatives, and I'll read this to you. This is crazy. It says, the Federal Reserve said Monday that it will begin buying individual corporate bonds under its secondary market corporate credit facility, an emergency lending program that to date has purchased only exchange-traded funds. The central bank also spelled out for the first time how it plans to implement its buying strategy, saying it would follow a diversified market index of U.S. corporate bonds created expressly for the facility. The Fed built the index internally, and a spokesman couldn't immediately say whether its details will be made public. You know they're not going to make this public. So that's telling you that corporations, they did nothing but stock buybacks. They got $1 trillion tax cut from Trump. They didn't hire people. They didn't stimulate the economy. Then the pandemic hit. People are getting laid off. People are frustrated. And this is what's happening. Think about that. This is going to further grow wealth inequality. So this is why you see the Pentagon now, they're saying, hold on, we need to start getting ahead of this because people see the benefits of a Bitcoin. I look at every cryptocurrency sort of like a nation, right? Each protocol, like where it has a set of rules and regulations, and you can pick and choose if you want to participate in that particular ecosystem, right? So Ethereum may be your choice, or Bitcoin may be your choice. And Ryan was speaking about this in his podcast, where like every protocol is sort of like its own nation, where we, the people, will have more control and say as to what actually happens inside of that system, as opposed to, as I said before, having a nation, right, or a state dictate to you what you can and can't do and how you can and can't use your money. As I said before, Bitcoin is neutral money. No one controls it. Now, I know a lot of you like to play this whole conspiracy theory thing, and you like to say somehow that the NSA created it. Well, if the government created it, why would they be trying to war game against it? That doesn't make any sense. And just because you don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, there's other cryptocurrencies such as Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash, where you know the creators and the founders of it, and they utilize the same technology. So that argument doesn't make any sense. Because if you really studied the technology, you would understand that all Satoshi did was blend together existing technology that has already existed. He basically solved the double spending problem and the Byzantine generals problem, where he basically took hash functions, right, cryptography, and digital signatures and blended them together. And he basically stood on the backs of other cryptographers who came before him, whether it was Scott Stornata, whether it was Stuart Haber, whether it was Nick Szabo and Adam Beck. Like, think about it. There were other iterations of different cryptocurrencies before Bitcoin. You had Hashcash, you had B-Money, you had BitGold, and etc. And the whole idea of the cypherpunk movement was created to give you more privacy when you transact on the internet. Like, part of being a cypherpunk is utilizing technology to increase our individual liberties on the internet. Because when you think about it, why does Nike need to hold your data? Why does Nike need to hold your address and your credit card information and all of this stuff about you? Why do they need to know all of that stuff about you, right? To commit for you to be able to transact, there should be a way that you should be able to exchange value, and you can choose how much of that information you want to give to them. And then when you give that information to them, where are they storing this information and why are they keeping it? We hear every day about Target getting hacked. We hear about PayPal getting hacked. Well, now, if a person can hack one of these companies, they know where you live. They know how much money you may have if they can hack a bank. So that's a problem. Security, privacy is a problem. And this is why the whole cypherpunk movement was created. So when you hear people throwing out these crazy conspiracy theories, you have to say to yourself, like, these people clearly, they just don't know what they're talking about. Like, why would you not want Bitcoin to succeed? It's been 11 years now. It's rocking and rolling. And then now when you look at the whole DeFi space, decentralized finance, like, these things matter. So, I really want to keep that in the back of your mind. So let's finish reading this article. It says, both the September 11th terrorist attacks and the Great Recession greatly influenced the attitudes of this generation in the United States and resulted in a feeling of unsettlement and insecurity among Generation Z. Although millennials experienced these events during their coming of age, Generation Z lived through them as part of their childhood, affecting their realism and worldview. Many found themselves stuck with excessive college debt when they discovered employment options did not meet their expectations. Generation Z are often described as seeking independence and opportunity, but are also among the least likely to believe there is such a thing as the American dream and that the system is rigged against them. Frequently seeing themselves as agents for social change, they crave fulfillment and excitement in their job to help move the world forward. Despite the technological proficiency they possess, Generation Z actually prefer person-to-person contact as opposed to online interaction. They describe themselves as being involved in their virtual and physical communities and having rejected excessive consumerism. And we're seeing what's happening right now with our economy. Basically, 70 to 80% of our economy is based upon consumerism, which is why most of our jobs get shipped overseas, which is why we don't have a lot of good paying jobs in this country. Part of that is because of consumerism. And you're starting to see younger people wake up because, as I said, we all have cell phones. So we can see things now. You can no longer just sweep things under the rug. See, back in the 60s and the 70s, you could sweep George Floyd under the rug. You know how many times George Floyd's, you know how many black men have had what has happened to George Floyd done to them? The difference is that there just was no camera, so you couldn't see it. If there wasn't a camera, that would have been business as usual, right? With the internet, we can pull up corporate balance sheets. We can go to the Fed's website and see their balance sheet increasing. We can see these things now. We can see income inequality. So you can't hide and sweep these things under the rug anymore. And this is why people are beginning to rebel. And what better way to rebel than with crypto, with Bitcoin? So it says in early 2025, a cadre of these disaffected Zoomers launched a protest movement beginning in parks, rallies, protests, and coffee shops. First in Seattle, then New York City, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and Austin. A group known as Zebellion begins a global cyber campaign to expose injustice and corruption and to support causes it deems beneficial. During face-to-face recruitment, would-be members of Zebellion are given instructions for going to sites on the dark web that allow them to access sophisticated malware to siphon funds from corporations, financial institutions, and nonprofits that support the establishment. The gains are then converted to Bitcoin and distributed to worthy recipients, including fellow Zebellion members who claim financial need. Zebellion leadership says the scenario assures its members that their Robin Hood-esque wealth redistribution is not only untraceable by law enforcement, but ultimately justifiable as targets are selected on secure polling of network delegates. Although its origins are American, by the latter 2020s, Zebellion activities are also occurring across Europe in cities throughout Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, including Nairobi, Kenya, Hanoi, Vietnam, Amman, and Jordan. Now, let's take a step back. Again, remember this article came out. Trump administration popped the 27 Bitcoin bubble, ex-CFTC chair says. It says, I just highlighted, you can go read this article on your own. I just highlighted this one paragraph. It says, one of the untold stories of the past few years is that the CFTC, the Treasury, the SEC, and the National Economic Council director at the time, Gary Cohn, believed that the launch of Bitcoin futures would have the impact of popping the Bitcoin bubble, and it worked. So again, for those of you, think about this, for those of you who believe that somehow the government created a Bitcoin, why would they be trying to pop the bubble? Why would they be wargaming and getting ready for a Bitcoin rebellion? Because understand, all of this data that flows through Google, all of these searches, they're tracking and monitoring this. And they're seeing that young people mainly want to deal in crypto. Young people don't really want to deal in the stock market. They may gamble on Robinhood with Hertz and stuff like that. But most of crypto is mainly a retail phenomenon. Honestly, we're starting to see now like Grayscale and other Wall Street entities and banks and like JP Morgan and et cetera and hedge funds get involved in the space. But remember, crypto was mainly, if you go back to 2010, 2011, 12, and 13, that's all retail money, right? Like it wasn't a lot of, hedge funds and stuff involved in crypto. I remember going back to when people were using Dwala and the Bitcoin Talk Forum. Like there wasn't big time hedge funds and money in there. And now you see all of this capital and money coming into this space. And one of the fears that I have is that you're going to see crypto become corporatized. And with the whole KYC thing, and Richard was saying this, and I agree with him, one of the biggest problems with crypto right now is, privacy. There's no reason why we haven't made better leaps and bounds in privacy. Because as of right now, Monero's king when it comes to privacy with ring signatures. There's nothing better than Monero when it comes to privacy. But when you look at ETH and you look at a Bitcoin, they do a terrible job at the whole privacy thing, especially with KYC and with people using centralized exchanges. And we need to educate people more on how to utilize a DEX and how to really transact peer-to-peer and stop depending on, centralized exchanges. But a lot of that comes to just really making better iterations of the Bitcoin protocol. And as I said to you guys before, remember that this is technology. So the Bitcoin that exists today won't exist a year from now, won't exist 2 years from now. Like people will make changes, right? So even what's happening in the DeFi space with ETH 2.0, like you're going to see a lot of changes. And one of the biggest changes that needs to come to crypto is more privacy, because you can track Bitcoin addresses, right? Bitcoin is pseudonymous. It's not anonymous, right? So like I have a private key and a public key that's generated locally on my computer. And that address, that key that's generated is then hashed, which gives me an address. That address, you don't know who's behind that address until they reveal themselves. But if you can find out who's behind that address, then you can track that address's balances. And that's one of the biggest problems with having an open and public ledger. But again, if you believe in the technology, you can see where eventually improvements will be made to give us better privacy. So let's get back to some of the articles right here. I like this article too. It says Bitcoin counters Donald Trump's Antifa protest threat. It says the U.S. has used its influence over financial infrastructure for political ends before. Back in 2010, political pressure on Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal led them to blocking payments to whistleblower site WikiLeaks after it leaked a cache of U.S. State Department diplomatic cables. Bitcoin, a decentralized digital currency, was used to sidestep the block on the payments to WikiLeaks in 2010. WikiLeaks has kicked the hornet's nest, and the swarm is headed towards us. Bitcoin's mysterious inventor Satoshi Nakamoto wrote at the time, shortly before he disappeared. Since then, digital payments have significantly replaced cash, especially among young people. leaving giant corporations largely in control of payment channels. Again, like I just said before, young people are mainly dealing in crypto because we can see the benefits of it. And remember, that information that WikiLeaks put out was damning. Even think about Eric Snowden. Like, Eric Snowden basically told you that the U.S. government with the NSA, they are spying on you. Right? I really want you to think about that. Like, the information that Eric Snowden put out should have the hairs all over your body standing up. That they're literally storing all of this data, all of your conversations, all of your emails, everything that you do on the internet. If you're not utilizing VPNs and the Tor network, and you're not really smart about your privacy, everything that you're doing is being tracked and monitored, everything, and it's being stored in a database. That's extremely dangerous. And then when WikiLeaks and people like Eric Snowden start putting out this information, you can see that the government reacted towards them, start freezing their accounts, trying to lock them up and throw them in jail for telling the truth. See, truth is treason. Think about that. Right now, people are protesting, and you hear people saying, "Oh, well, the people are they're rioting and they're looting. Wall Street is looting to the tune of trillions of dollars." See, it amazes me when you hear people say stuff like that. It just goes to show you how out of touch with reality people truly are. Think about this. The Fed came out probably a week after the coronavirus pandemic hit and started launching all type of different facilities. They were already hitting the market in the repo market for $9 trillion since September. Yet the people had to wait 6 weeks to get $1,200. And then you're going to say to people, why are you rioting and looting? Wall Street's been looting to the tune of $1 trillion here, $2 trillion here, $9 trillion here, $6 trillion here. This one gets bailed out. That one gets bailed out. So they can loot. The only difference is they're looting in a suit. See, that's the only difference, is they're looting in a suit. These people out here, they're stealing TVs. Whoa, wow. They stole a TV. They broke a window. The looting that's happening on Wall Street is going to lead to a currency collapse. See, when you start thinking, right? When you start thinking and you start looking at the world for what it truly is, you won't make those asinine statements and get mad at poor people for looting. You'll get mad at poor people for looting, but Neil Kashkari comes on and says, "Oh, hey, we just printed." We just printed. We just a bunch of ones and zeros on the server, and we just send it over here. Oh, we're going to buy some corporate bonds. Oh, we're going to go into the repo market. Just like that. I agree with you 100%, Mr. PZ44. Monero is my favorite cryptocurrency by far because it actually gives you privacy. And, Bitcoin's going to probably have to do a hard fork in order to be able to get the privacy that is needed, which leads to a whole nother problem with Blockstream, but that's a separate video for a separate subject. Another part, right? Now, meanwhile, countries around the world, led by China and kicked into action by Facebook's Libra plans, are looking to digitize their currencies, something that could give the governments even greater control over what people spend money on. A digital dollar would probably be designed to make it remarkably easy to freeze or seize the funds of any person or any group. The system could allow the U.S. government to fine-tune the uses of each programmable dollar, said financial author and trading veteran Glenn Goodman, who has been closely following the development of central bank digital currencies. Some U.S. lawmakers have proposed the creation of digital dollars and so-called Fed accounts as part of the stimulus bill designed to offset the economic damage wrought by virus-induced lockdowns. I'm not going to say the word because they'll flag the video. Goodman fears central bank digital currencies and a digital dollar could open up highly specific avenues of control. If intelligence agencies suspected some Americans of helping fund an anti-government group, they could freeze some of their digital dollars. but leave them with enough workable dollars to pay their bills and living expenses, Goodman says. This could potentially allow a government to suppress opposition without infringing the Eighth Amendment, which bans cruel and unusual punishments. So think about that. In the CARES Act legislation, I told you guys, they were talking about a digital dollar. And the way that totalitarians operate, they'll take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, right? So they'll introduce something in legislation, see how the people feel about it, and then pull it back. If they're talking about it in the legislation, that tells you that they already have this in place. Now, you have to ask yourself, what type of digital money do you want to be a part of? What type of digital economy do you want to be a part of? Do you want to be a part of a digital economy where everything is centralized, tracked, and controlled, where the government can shut you off at any time? You go to the wrong protest, you like the wrong status on Facebook, you say the wrong things, you don't support LGBTQ rights, you're a libertarian, or you don't support, let's say, protesters, whatever the case may be, whatever you decide to be against, and the powers that be deems that to not be in line, well, they can just shut you out the economy. The digital dollar is coming. So now you have Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that are decentralized, that are peer-to-peer. No one owns them, permissionless, borderless, and open to everyone. And then you have the Fed coin. And they're going to sell it to you by, hey, we can get your stimulus payments to you quick. That's how they're going to sell it to you. Hey, we have to do this. We have to get rid of the old dollar because it has too much debt, too much inflation. So we're going to create this new dollar, this digital dollar. And we know about the one world currency. Right? We all know about the microchip. This is what the globalists want. So crypto is our last shot. And I like how the author said, he says, if intelligence agencies suspect some Americans of helping to fund an anti-government group, they could freeze some of their digital dollars, but leave them with enough workable dollars to pay their bills and living expenses, Goodman said. This could potentially allow the government to suppress opposition without infringing the Eighth Amendment, which bans cruel and unusual punishments. So let's say you had $20,000 in your bank account. Well, they can freeze it and only allow you to take out enough to pay your bills. And we see this happen time and time again with the IRS when they come in there, garnish your wages. We're seeing this happen. So the government is preparing for the rebellion. They're preparing for Bitcoin because they can see more and more people are waking up to the problem with this system, and more people are opting out of this system. And they realize you can't control Bitcoin. You can't stop it. You can't stop Bitcoin because it's a language. It's a protocol. As long as there's an internet connection, you can transact in Bitcoin. You can email transactions. You can text message transactions. Like it's a language. Literally, it's a language. And someone just asked, so what would be the next coin behind Bitcoin? I don't look at it like I was listening to Ryan's podcast, and I'm gonna link the podcast in a second. I look at a lot of these different protocols as like little mini nations, and I agree. He came up with the term. I'm just really paraphrasing what he said. And you will pick and choose which type of ecosystem you want to participate in, right? Think about it. Like most money is controlled by government. So we need to figure out a way to separate government from money, because as long as man will control money, man will abuse money. And now, rather than you being forced to have to use the US dollar or forced to have to use the euro, now you can choose which currency you want to use. So do you want to be a part of ETH? Do you want to be a part of, the Tezos economy? You will pick and choose which type of economy you want to be a part of, right? So, don't worry. I'll get rid of photo booth. I'll get rid of photo booth. No problem. Like I said before, it amazes me why would you not want to see Bitcoin succeed? Why wouldn't you? Like literally, your money loses 3% of its value every year to inflation. So if you park your money in a savings account, you're losing 3% right there. And that's if you believe the government CPI numbers. Right? So it incentivizes you not to hold money. It incentivizes you to have to constantly keep investing your money to beat inflation. The average person doesn't know this. Right? Now, this goes into gold now. You know me, I own gold. I own gold, I own silver, I own precious metal mining stocks because I believe gold is money as well. And I like to hedge myself because none of us truly knows what the future holds. But think about it. Like right now, if the government, let's say that they enacted martial law and I wanted to leave, I'm not going to be able to get on a plane with a whole bunch of bars of gold, right? Like it's very hard to transport gold. And that's one of the, as long as you utilize gold, so you have to always trust someone. And that's one of the biggest problems is you have to trust a third party. With crypto, all I have to do is remember my seed, my 12-word or my 20-word seed, and I can go anywhere in the world and back up my crypto. Like literally, if I lose my ledger, I can back up my crypto, even if this is damaged or loss, with just my seed. Like that's extremely powerful, right? Like think about that. Like I can literally go anywhere in the world and have all my wealth in my head. You can't do that with gold, right? If I wanted to, if Alice wants to pay Bob and I'm here in New York City and I'm Bob and Alice is in Australia and she has to send me gold, well, we have to trust a third party with our gold. With crypto, literally within a matter of minutes, the crypto will be in my wallet. I don't have to use a bank. I don't have to fill out any paperwork. Literally within minutes. Now, yes, sometimes the Bitcoin network can be congested and fees can be high. That's why there's other cryptocurrencies that you can transact in. Find whichever crypto project you like. See, I'm not here to tell you, oh, you know, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I believe that Bitcoin is the crypto market is going to go where Bitcoin goes, but there's other good projects out here. I'm not going to sit up here and say that Bitcoin is the only good project. There's a lot of other projects out here that are good. Find one that you like, but that's the power of crypto. And excuse me, with everything being digital now, I just don't see how we're going to go to a gold standard or how we can go to a gold standard and then not get centralized again. Because remember, gold has failed because of centralization, right? Gold is money, but it's not a superior money. Let me just say that. It's not a money that doesn't have flaws. All money has flaws. It has trade-offs. And that covers it. And I want to get to this. And this basically covers what I was just saying right now. It says why Bitcoin is a silent protest against corporate governments everywhere. It says, as peaceful protests deteriorated into riots, it became clear that people were not just upset about racism. Give me 1 second. They were fed up with the abuse of authority that has pervaded modern society. Mandatory lockdowns, lack of adequate or accessible health care, a financial system that has shelled out billions of dollars in commercial bailouts, the growing wealth divide. All of these recently prevalent issues were just the tip of the iceberg. One anti-authoritarian community stood up in solidarity and tweeted, "Bitcoin is a peaceful protest." For the noobs, Bitcoin is a non-sovereign, hard-capped, global, immutable, decentralized, and completely digital store of value, held by many as an insurance policy against the irresponsibility of central banks globally. Credit to Travis King for this concise definition, and I totally agree. You can't print more Bitcoin. You have to spend electricity to solve hash functions, basically cryptographic puzzles, to basically link each block together to get new Bitcoin. And Bitcoin will be capped at 21 million. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. Now, some people will talk about mining and electricity, and this is why you have proof of stake. And ETH is switching to a proof of stake model where they're going to burn the fees. I think 1.8% of the fees. I'm not exactly sure of the number. So there's different mechanisms, consensus protocols, and systems that people are trying to put together. So when you Bitcoin utilizes proof of work. ETH uses proof of work, and they're trying to eventually go over to, whenever ETH 2.0 launches, to proof of stake. But again, you can see that that's honest money. Money that I don't have to guess. I don't have to trust my government. I don't have to trust Ben Bernanke or Janet Yellen or Jerome Powell that they're going to be able to, turn inflation on to the right amount and turn it off to the right amount, to the right tune. No, I can look at the code. I can go to the Bitcoin repository and I can see the code and see what's happening in the entire ledger in the system. And that's what real money is supposed to be. Honest money. I don't have to guess what's happening here. Like right now, who's going to get these corporate bailouts for the bonds? Which company bonds is the Fed going to buy? How much? How many bonds are they going to buy? What's going to be the dollar amount? Is it going to be a $1 trillion program? Is it going to be a $2 trillion program? Which is why I said to you, take a step back. How can you invest in this market? What is price discovery? What is Tesla worth? What is Apple worth? What is Hertz worth? What is Nikolai worth? Or Nikola, however you say the stock name. What are these companies worth? What is Zoom worth? Will Zoom still have the same valuation if we go back? There's just so much speculation in this market, and there's so much cheap and easy money in this market. So you don't really know what to value. You can't really value anything. What should you short? What shouldn't you short? There's no earnings right now for most of these companies. Like, think about it. Like, literally, take a step back. When you take a step back and you ask yourself this question, there's 40 million people unemployed. Businesses have been shut down for 3 to 4 months. Most states are just now reopening at 25% capacity. What do you think the earnings are going to be like for some of these companies? Here's the problem with that. Their program enables them to purchase up to $750 billion. Who's regulating that? Who's regulating that? See, this is the problem. I do backflips. What you have to understand. Who is regulating that? Who is watching the Fed to check them and make sure that they're only spending $750 billion? Who's regulating that? Who checks that? How can you and I verify that they only spent $750 billion? Where are the checks and balances at? All we can do is take their word for it. See, that's the importance of having an open, permissionless ledger like Bitcoin, a blockchain, where I can look at it and I can see. I know what's going on. I read the article for you. They didn't come out and say to you exactly, who and what is going to get bailed out with this whole corporate structure. No one knows. We truly don't know. Just like when you was hearing companies like back during the bailout, I remember I believe it was AIG when they said that they paid back the government. A lot of them paid back with stock, with worthless stock. They created a special purpose vehicle, a separate entity, and then they just created a whole bunch of stock. And they said, "Oh, the stock is worth $20 a share," and they gave that to the Fed. And they said, "Oh, look, we paid them back." They didn't pay. You can't pay. If I give you money, you can't pay me back with worthless stock that you created out of thin air. So we know about what happens in these lending facilities and with the repo market and stuff like that. Like, we can track some of it, but a lot of this stuff we can't track. We can't hold them accountable. They say it's $750 billion. Okay, maybe not. It says, since the creation of Bitcoin 11 years ago, a growing number of people have been choosing to opt out of the traditional financial system, the central source of power for our government. They are turning to a new monetary system, one that is not controlled by a single authority, but is rather decentralized and run by a network of computers. As a child born in the Soviet Union, having witnessed the fall of a government, hyperinflation, and a run on the banks, all before the age of 10, Bitcoin also piqued my interest. Bitcoin was born as a movement by the people for the people. And so I wanted to give the community support this movement an opportunity to be heard, sourcing the key ideas in this article through Twitter. And this is the last thing I'm going to read from the article because this is extremely important. One story was shared with me anonymously by a Ukrainian software engineer. Let's call him Greg. In 2014, what began as a peaceful protest in Ukraine quickly grew into a civil war, riddling the country with violence and unrest. As expected, due to political instability, the local currency was devalued by 70%. Greg lost his job and was looking for a way to escape the rebellion. Airports and roads were guarded by soldiers to prevent people from fleeing. Temporary visits to family, however, were permitted by car. It was well known that many of the officials charged with guarding the borders were corrupt and would confiscate money and valuables at checkpoints. And so Greg, having kept most of his savings in USD, decided to trade it all for Bitcoin. He memorized the 12 words from his seed phrase like his life depended on it and ran with nothing but a small backpack on his person, managing to escape with all of his wealth intact. What did I just say 10 minutes ago? I literally just said that 10 minutes ago. Think about that. You're in a country. They're devaluing your currency. See, we here in the States, we have so much privilege and so much opportunity and choices when compared to other countries. In other countries, like if you're poor, you're poor. There is no welfare system. There is no structure. There is no like Supreme Court. Like literally, like if you're poor, you're just poor. The police can just shoot you, leave you on the street, and no one would care. So here, his currency is being devalued by 70%. He converts his currency to Bitcoin, remembers his seed, and he's able to basically leave with a backpack and flee the country. You can't do that with gold. You cannot do that with gold because when you get to the border, they're going to search you. And if they see that you have money or gold on you, they're going to confiscate it from you. That's just the reality. You can't do that. With crypto, you can. So when people say like, oh, why are you so excited about crypto? I know. If you believe that DeFi is going to be successful and you don't think that the government's going to try to attack it, you're crazy. Like, you should be expecting the government to attack Bitcoin, to attack Monero, to attack Tezos, whichever crypto you like. You should be expecting it. And if you understand the technology, may the better money and system win. May the better money and the system win. So Generation Z is going to rebel because they can see that there's a problem here. Because what do I tell you guys all the time? Debt is money. See, when you understand that, when you understand the boom and bust cycle, when you go and get a mortgage, that money didn't exist. You borrowed that money into existence. When you go and get a car, that car loan, that money didn't exist. You attached that money to your person. And because you need a place to live and you like your house, that now gives the dollar value because it gives it demand, because you have to work for more dollars in order to pay off your debt. So that mechanism is what gives the dollar value. It's not about the military and bombs and, it's not about that. It's this debt-based, fiat-based system where this fractional reserve lending system where, again, if you put $100 in a bank, the bank can lend out 90 out of thin air because they know most people don't come back and get their money. So they're creating loans out of thin air, and then they can then take those loans that they give out and they can then create derivatives behind that loan. And then they can then take that and sell that into the open market. So when you start seeing this system, you say to yourself, this is insane. This is madness. And now because of the whole pandemic, the government has allowed the banks, they cut the reserve requirement ratio to 0%. So they don't even have to hold, the banks don't even have to hold your reserves on hand. The minute that you put your money in the bank, they can start lending it out. Or guess what they can do? They can start speculating with it and pumping the stock market. And then if they make a mistake and they have an oopsie, and let's say the derivative market explodes, Well, then they can go to the repo market and get bailed out from the Fed, right? So there's this game, this system. It's not designed to benefit everyday people, and this is why Bitcoin is important, and it will be extremely important. So I expect them to eventually ban it. I expect them to ban it. Why do you think 3 years ago, Jamie Dimon came out and said that Bitcoin is basically a scam? And then now you come to find out that they're working with exchanges to help them facilitate trade and hold money. And now they're getting involved in crypto. Because as I told you guys before, at the beginning of crypto, it was mainly a bunch of, retail money and cypherpunks involved, people who really honestly believed in the technology. And I feel like one of the weaknesses for Bitcoin and many cryptos is we're corporatizing it. And I believe that if we let the banks in and we let the corporate interest in, they could destroy Bitcoin that way. I think that's the biggest risk to Bitcoin. I don't think it's a 51% attack. I don't believe it's some new crypto that's going to be faster or some, I like DeFi, but it has a lot of risk with DeFi, but I like it. I believe the biggest risk to crypto is going to be allowing the banks in, allowing the hedge funds in, allowing these exchanges like Coinbase to hold a lot of BTC. I think that's going to be one of the biggest problems, is that we're basically going to leave one burning house and basically build another one. And speaking of burning, and this is extremely important, look what's happening in Lebanon right now, right? Like, they're burning down their central bank. This is what we should be doing here in the States. They're literally burning down their central bank because their currency is being devalued. They can't ban crypto. You can't ban Bitcoin. They'll try. What they'll try to do is attack Bitcoin by the on and off ramps, right? That's the way I see them attacking crypto, because most people, again, to use devices like this, it's not easy. It's not user friendly. And just to wrap this last thing up that I'm talking about, when you come here, and just to tell you what's happening in Lebanon, it says protesters in Lebanon have set fire to the central bank in Tripoli in a show of anger with the country's deepening economic crisis and stagnant political orthodoxy. Joyce Karam of the United Arab Emirates-based media outlet The National reported June 11th that the Lebanese pound LBP is trading for more than $5,000 per $1 in spite of the country's official peg of 1,507 per dollar, a 20% depreciation since April and over 230% since the peg was respected in January. So you can see that their money's being devalued. Give me 1 second. Let me drink some water. My mouth is dry. So you can see that people are getting frustrated that their currency is being devalued. Hold on, let's see something. This light is hot. This is what we should be doing here in the States. We should be burning down the Fed. We should be going after the Fed. But instead, most people, they don't even know that the dollar isn't backed by gold. They don't know anything about inflation. Most people don't even care. But Generation Z does. And that's one of the good things that we're starting to see, which is really, really important. And I stress this to you guys all the time, that what's going to happen over the next 12 to 18 months is going to force people to have to wake up, right? You're no longer going to be able to ignore what's happening. The stock market hitting all-time highs isn't going to benefit the average person because the average person doesn't own enough stocks. Crypto is one of the places where, that's one of the I would say, untapped frontiers. $300 billion market cap. If we hit $1 trillion market cap overall, a $2 trillion market cap. What does that do to crypto? The stock market's an $89 trillion market. When you look at gold, gold is as of today, I believe it's a $9 trillion market. Crypto's a baby. So if you're trying to build wealth, there's no better place than to start at crypto, where you have cryptos like Tezos that has what? A 1.7 billion dollar market cap. Ethereum's flirting with 26, 27. What do you think is going to happen when, ETH is sitting at a $100 billion market cap, a $400 billion market cap? How much wealth can you create with that? Think about all of the millionaires that's going to be created from protocols or Chainlink. Think about the people who are involved in Chainlink when it was 20 cents and now it's trading at $4 or wherever it's at, $2 or $4. I can't remember off the top of my head. This is the opportunity that you have with crypto. And you have an opportunity to build wealth, but you also have an opportunity to participate in a system that's actually going to be beneficial to society, that's going to bring back more freedom to society, where you won't have to see people burning down their, central banks. The Fed is one of the greatest reasons why income inequality is so high, why the boom and bust cycle is so high. And give me 1 second, guys. There's something in my eye. And I wanted to share this with you. So, I always attract trolls, and that's just part of the game. You always attract trolls. But again, I like to teach, and I am not an expert, but I know a lot about crypto. Are there people who are more knowledgeable, more technical than I am? Absolutely. I would never, like an Andreas or people like that, but I know my stuff. So John Doe, who's a troll, he left this comment. He said, Bitcoin has already been hacked, morons. I know this for a fact. Nah, you just know how to lie well. So John Doe came on my video and basically said that I'm a liar and I don't know what I'm talking about. So let's open up the link. What John Doe doesn't understand is that Bitcoin has never been hacked. The Bitcoin chain has never been successfully attacked by a 51% attack. What he doesn't understand is that third parties, right, custodians that were holding Bitcoin were hacked. Bitcoin has never been hacked. The Bitcoin chain has been successfully rolling along for 11 years. I think we're at block 680,000 something, right? But stupid people like John Doe, it says Binance says more than 40 million Bitcoin, $40 million in Bitcoin stolen in a large-scale hack. Binance was hacked. They were holding Bitcoin, which is why you need a ledger. Ledger. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So, because people don't really have a technical background, they don't really know how to utilize hardware wallets and manage their private keys and do cold storage, they leave them sitting on an exchange like Coinbase or Binance, and the exchange gets hacked. Bitcoin has never been hacked. Binance was hacked. Bitfinex was hacked. Mt. Gox was hacked. But again, the problem is, you have a lot of people who, for whatever reason, they just don't want to see Bitcoin become successful, as if the US dollar or the euro or any other fiat currency is somehow superior. Every fiat currency in the history of man has eventually returned to its original value, which is zero. Zero. So John Doe, you're an idiot, you're a troll, but I hope I was able to teach you something and you can understand and learn. Bitcoin has never been hacked. Never. Okay? An exchange holding Bitcoin was hacked, which is why people need to learn how to store and manage their crypto. And guess what? In my tech academy, I'm going to plug my academy that I put together, and I'm proud of what I put together. I teach you how to use your hardware wallet and why it's important, and how to manage your private keys. And guess what? If you don't want to buy one of these devices, you can download the Bitcoin Core protocol and get a run a full node. Give me 1 second. Let me drink some water. I'm so dehydrated. These lights for this green screen, I'm gonna have to dish this green screen because it's hot. Like the lights are like right on me to light the green screen, so I'm going to have to figure something else out because these lights are just way too hot. But you basically run a full node and manage your own private key, your own keys, and problem solved. Right. So if you can't use this device, or you find this device clunky, run a full node and manage your own keys right on your computer. Simple. Problem solved. Right? But I like what Miyamoto Jones just said. And it's important. A lot of you are willing to give up your privacy for convenience. And that's one of the biggest problems. A lot of you allow Google to store your passwords. You allow Apple to manage your passwords, and these things get hacked all the time. And you don't take your privacy serious. You don't take your sovereignty serious. That's the whole purpose of Bitcoin, is basically getting back your freedom. Your cell phone probably knows more about you than you know about yourself. And all of this data is being stored somewhere. Your passwords are being stored in these different keychains, and it's just not safe. So once you get into this whole crypto space, you will start to see why, cryptography is important in general, because a lot of people don't know this, but cryptography has existed for thousands of years, going back to the ancient Egyptians with hieroglyphics, going back to the ancient Roman days with Caesar's cipher. And it's all about being able to encrypt data and messages that will be sent through insecure channels where people can see it. And understanding how this technology works, and understanding why your privacy is important, and understanding why you shouldn't be trusting Google and PayPal and all these other people with your information is extremely important. Because, I don't want to go into the deep end, but there's a show called Westworld. And I really think you should watch the show, because you have to be a three-dimensional thinker, and you have to be able to see the message inside of the message. I'll just give you a brief overview. The first season starts off where you have androids, you have robots in a park. And, rich people come to the park and they basically have fun with the androids. They have sex with them, they shoot them, they kill them, whatever the case may be. But the androids, they start to get feelings, right? They start to have feelings. And what a lot of people didn't know that was coming to the park is that everything that they were doing, the humans, were being recorded, because people wanted to be able to clone their human consciousness and put it in a robot to live forever. Well, when you get into transhumanism, that's sort of what's happening now with androids, with robots. Like, all of this data is being used to mimic, human intelligence. That's what artificial intelligence is about. Like, these bots, these AI bots, is trying to mimic human intelligence. So they store all of your data, your interactions, your tweets, your things you like, and they put this into algorithms to try to mimic human behavior. And you have to be very, very careful with a lot of the things you watch, with a lot of the things you like, because a lot of this stuff is being influenced upon you, like your timeline. Are you influencing your timeline, or is your timeline influencing you? Like, are the videos popping up on YouTube things you're really interested in, or is these videos that YouTube or the algorithm is saying that you should watch? Like, so you have to be very careful with how you allow technology to influence you, and ask yourself, are you influencing technology, or is it influencing you? So, you have to really start paying attention to this stuff, because, this stuff is really, really important, and your data and your privacy matters. I'm telling you, all of these things matter. So I'll take a few questions right now, because basically I'm finished with the presentation and seeing what's going on. I don't plan on exiting ETH if they, or Courtney Gibson, if they have a staking mechanism where I can earn much better returns on my ETH than I can, in a bank, I don't see the need to sell most of my ETH. Like, I'll cash out. I'll cash out like probably 50% of my position, like at like $5,000, $6,000, wherever we decide to go. But I plan on holding most of my crypto for a long time. Like I I'm gonna cash out of my Bitcoin because that's like my biggest position. And if we hit all time highs again, I'm gonna make a lot of money. And I plan on converting a lot of my Bitcoin over to real estate, like big real estate, commercial real estate. But again, that's subject to change too, guys, because with the economy, we don't know where things are going to go. So I can't give you a definitive answer with that because with inflation, with hyperinflation, who the hell knows where crypto can go? Like with the Fed coming out basically now and saying they're going to buy corporate bonds, they're buying junk bonds, they're buying junk debt. They're, we're talking about universal basic income. Now they're talking about reparations. Like literally, you don't know how much money this government's going to print. And God forbid AOC, one day becomes president or, like a Bernie Sanders where free everything. You can see Ethereum go to $10,000, $20,000 easily. Like now, will that $20,000 be worth anything? That's another question. Right. So we have to start asking ourselves those questions. Whereas, are we valuing crypto in fiat, or will crypto one day just replace fiat in general and there won't be any fiat? Right. That's another question you have to think about. Like, well, maybe you might need to use your ETH to transact and just live. Like, so that's another thing you have to actually think about. Like, if we have a currency collapse, or let's just say the government adopts crypto, maybe you might have to use your crypto to actually transact and live daily, live day to day. So, but my investment strategy as of today is to cash out of my Bitcoin because I have a lot of Bitcoin. So if we get to all-time highs where I believe that we can go and we hit $100, $200, $300,000 Bitcoin, I'll be cashing out in those increments and I'll be converting that into real estate. Be easy. Let me ask you a question. Um, is that ARK ETF with that lady Catherine from ARK Invest, the lady who's behind she invests in a lot of tech companies like Tesla and Bitcoin. I believe her company is ARK Invest. Is that the same ETF that's led by her? Um, Mr. Posts her stuff. Her name is Catherine Wood. She's definitely someone that you should be following. I encourage you guys to go and follow her. Let me see if I can pull her up right now. Hold on, my stream has frozen. Let me pull her up right now and put her in the chat for you guys right now. She's really, really good and knowledgeable, and she's into disruptive technology, and that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's just Tesla. They are disruptive technologies. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up. For those of you who don't know who she is, um, I believe she's Catherine Wood. Let's see if I can find her. Give me 1 second, guys. I want to find her because I like giving you guys resources and people to follow. I can't seem to find her. I found ARK Invest though, so let's see if she's, because I know I follow her. I definitely want to follow her and give you guys. Here we go, Kathy Wood. I was putting in Catherine Wood. So this is who we're talking about right now, guys. Really, 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 she's really brilliant, really smart. She gives out a ton of good free information. Um, I've been following her for a while. People thought she was crazy when she came out. I even thought she was crazy. That's how I first found out about her, when she was talking about Tesla. And I was like, there's no way that Tesla's going to hit $1,000. And sure enough, it hit $1,000. Also, I've seen some donations coming earlier. I don't know if they're still here. Thank you for those of you who donated and said thank you for the course. I forgot who said that, but I appreciate the donation. Alec, Ray's Rome, I saw that you I was able to see that you donated as well. Thank you. Opinions on people and companies using crypto for sports betting on sports and esports. will this have a huge effect on the industry? Yeah. Um, Remember, one of the first use cases for crypto was gambling, was poker. I believe that one of the probably the first things I think I spent Bitcoin on, like use cases, was gambling. And I know that there's a real big website or maybe like an app or something with gambling on ETH that a lot of people use. I can't remember it off the top of my head because there's just so much happening with Ethereum, and I have so much going on, so I haven't had a chance to really look at it. But yeah, that whole online sports betting, that's definitely one of the places that you can see a use case, especially with DeFi. So 100%, I believe that it's going to have a huge effect on the industry. I believe that, and this is like when, for the programming aspect of the course that we have, we're talking about Solidity. Like when you look at most financial transactions, right? Like just low hanging fruit. You can see so easily where DeFi is going to be able to disrupt certain industries. Like, when you think about like car insurance, sports betting, right? Like online gambling, like things that like you shouldn't have to like really reveal your identity to gamble. That's a no-brainer that's going to come like that's going to come onto DeFi. So like if you're looking to build something, if you're looking to get into this space, like that's low-hanging fruit. Like that's just easy money. So hop into that. Like that's something that you should be viewing. If you see any like protocols or tokens that are trying to get into that space or trying to like target that space, those are cryptos that you may want to invest in because that's an easy use case that people will use, and it's something that people want to do over the internet, right? Like no one wants to pick up their phone and call a broker to put in a bet to bet on a game. People want to be able to do it on an app. So if you can figure out a way to create an app or something like that, go for it. That's just low hanging fruit. That's easy. That's a no brainer. Um, I'm not a fan of Tron. I'm not a fan of Justin Sun. Um, I'm not a fan of Justin Sun at all. He's a shady character. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not a fan of um what he's doing with the Steam blockchain, how he plagiarized the white paper. I'm just not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of how he does things at all. Um, I haven't I haven't used Binance in a while. Are you using Binance US Great Filibuster, or are you using the international version of Binance? J Da Vinci 999. Um, if you're not if you're not technical and you just want to get into crypto and you don't care about KYC, you're not investing a large amount of money, I would just go with Coinbase. It's just easier, right? If you just want to buy some Bitcoin, some ETH, then just go with Coinbase, right? But if you're someone that you respect your privacy, or you want to invest a lot of money and you don't want to have to KYC and stuff like that, then you have to start thinking about local Bitcoins. Because on local Bitcoin, you can buy Bitcoin and you can use a credit card to buy Bitcoin in some instances if the person's willing to sell you their Bitcoin. And this is a way where you don't have to reveal your identity to buy Bitcoin if you're buying it from a person. Now, obviously, if you're using um, your bank or like PayPal or something, you just KYC'd yourself. But again, if you're smart enough and you know how to use prepaid debit cards and stuff like that, you can buy Bitcoin from local Bitcoins. Depending on where you're located at, you can buy Bitcoin from Bitcoin ATMs and you won't have to KYC yourself. The DEX that I was talking to you guys about before was Changely. I couldn't remember it the other day because, like, think about it, guys. Like, think about how many different things I have to, like, hold in my head. So when you're speaking off the cuff like this, anything outside of the presentation, sometimes I get, like, lost in my mind. But, like, you have BISC, and then you have Changely. These are dexes that you can use inside of the academy. I'll be uploading the videos next week on how to use different dexes, how to utilize VPNs, how to utilize Proton Mail, how to use the Tor network to like give yourself levels of privacy to transact, stuff like that. So there's ways that you can buy Bitcoin privately, but that's technical stuff. If you just want to participate and you're like, listen, I don't care. Listen, man, just use Coinbase. It's not that complicated. Not that complicated as well at all. So, like if you're like me, you have to think about it. Like, so now I have to think about privacy because I manage people's money, right? So I'm not putting like $1,000 into Bitcoin, right? I'm coming in $25,000, $30,000 at a time when I'm buying. Like when I buy, I'm buying in big blocks. So I facilitate like over the counter stuff, like in the OTC market. Like, so I don't have to really necessarily go into like the regular retail market to buy. So there's other ways that you can buy crypto, but you may have to pay a premium. It may be like a 10% premium or a 12% premium, but I don't mind paying. Like, all Bitcoins are not created equal. Freshly mined Bitcoin is worth more money than older Bitcoin, right? Because they don't have any, like their UTXOs is not linked to a lot of different addresses, right? So all Bitcoin are not created equal. Like and this is another reason too, like sometimes why fees may be higher. Like you may pay more sats per byte because you may have so many like UTXOs linking to so many different addresses that it may cost you more money. So you have to think about that. So all Bitcoin is not created equal. Like some Bitcoin, if it's involved in a hack, like some exchanges won't accept it. If you try to run it through like a coin join, some exchanges won't accept it, right? So all Bitcoin are not created equal. And if you don't know this stuff, don't worry. I'll teach it in a course, inside of the course. If you're new, you don't need to even worry about this stuff. I want to stress this to you guys, right? Because you have a lot of people who come on here and they want to get really like they want to get real technical and confuse you. If you just want to buy some Bitcoin, you don't care about all of this technical mumbo jumbo stuff, just go to Coinbase. Keep it simple. For those of you who are, you're going down a rabbit hole and you understand about, state surveillance, privacy, how you transact, where you transact, then you start to understand that you don't mind paying that 10% because that freshly mined Bitcoin is worth a hell of a lot of money. And if I don't have to KYC myself, then I'll pay that premium to buy those Bitcoin from you. Because remember, the way that private key is generated is it's generated through basically a bunch of randomness, a random number generator, and it's generated locally on your computer, which then is hashed, and then you get your public key, and then your public key and your private key is hashed, which gives you your public address. So at that point, when you create that fresh private key, public address, you're not linked to that address. The minute you KYC yourself, meaning which stands for know your customer, now you're linked to the address, right? So when I create a new address locally, because remember, you can generate a Bitcoin address without being connected to the internet, right? See, a lot of people don't understand this. Like, you don't have to be connected to the internet to connect a Bitcoin address. You can even make your own Bitcoin address, because you basically, you can take a quarter and you can, flip it 100 times. And for hedge, you'll write 1. For tails, you'll write 0. You'll never get the same sequence, right? Like, you'll just never get the same sequence. And don't worry, if you don't know this, I cover this stuff in the course. I'm just giving you like a quick overview. So you can generate your own private key. It's better to utilize your wallet, run a full node, and let it generate your private key for you. But when you generate that private key, you're not linked to the private key. You're not linked to the address, right? All of that stuff is fresh. When you get a fresh private key, fresh public key, fresh address, is all fresh. Once you start transacting with your Bitcoin, once you link your identity to that address, now it's linked, and now that Bitcoin can be tracked, right? So if I create a fresh address and I go find someone and I buy that Bitcoin, you don't know that that address belongs to me. So that's one of the important things about it. So it's just so all Bitcoin are not created equal. Just that's the basically what I'm trying to say to you. So, and don't worry, we're going to cover stuff like that in the course. So for those of you who don't have to worry about that. But again, if you're not technical and you don't want to go through all of that crazy stuff, just use Coinbase. Keep it simple. Ledger. I need to put that inside of the course too. It's just I have so much stuff to do. I'll drop the link inside of the chat right now. I recommend Ledger. I believe that Ledger is by far the best when it comes to hardware wallets. Do not buy a hardware wallet off of Amazon. Do not buy a hardware wallet off of eBay. I don't care. Do not be cheap with your hardware wallet, okay? Because most likely the person that you are buying the hardware wallet from has already opened it up, somehow tampered with it, messed with it, and repackaged it. Buy it from Ledger. It's cheap. It's not hard. Buy it from Ledger. It's not complicated. It may take a while because they ship through DHL. So, and with the whole pandemic thing, it may take you probably a week or two to get it. It is by far worth it. Treasures can be hacked. They have vulnerabilities. And then I believe that the Glacier protocol is complicated. I don't know why my mouth is so dry. So get a ledger, keep it simple. And again, I cover that in the course. Someone else put up a comment here. And guys, hit the like button. There's 138 of you watching this right now. Thank you, John Lycos. Ivan on Tech teaches a lot of stuff too, guys. Ivan on Tech is I learned a lot from Ivan on Tech when I first came across Ivan on Tech, like especially about the when he was talking about like programming languages and stuff like that. I learned a lot from Ivan about programming. So Ivan has some good stuff. And if you join Ivan on Tech, like he has like 20 different modules inside of his 20 different courses inside of his academy. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see with a lot of people in crypto is that they're very, very knowledgeable, but they don't meet people where they're at. They talk over you. And because they're big and they have a large following, they can't really engage you in the way that they need to engage you for you to learn. So you kind of just like, you're just a number. And if you join their academy, like I said about Andreas is way smarter than me in technical than I am when it comes to anything crypto wise. But if you go to Andreas' channel, and I show you guys this all the time, he has over like 500 videos. So like if you're new, where do you start? So when I put together the academy, I put it together in a way where I'm going to meet people where they're at. You're new. Give you some basic core fundamentals. What is a hash function? What is a digital signature, right? What is cryptography? What is public key cryptography? How are these things blended together? What is proof of work? What is the proof of work algorithm trying to do? What is a nonce? Like a lot of people don't know these things. Meet people at a low level, charge them a small amount of money. Like I know some people, they're charging, thousands of dollars for crypto education. A lot of this stuff you can find for free on the internet. Rather than charge you thousands of dollars, I'll charge you $50 and then let you go and take the rest of your money, those thousands that you're going to give me, let you go take that money and invest in some crypto and get you a 5x, 10x, 20x gain. That's my mentality, how I see it. So I feel like that's just a fair exchange. A lot of these places, though, you go in there, it's like there's so many different tutorials and videos, and it just throwing all of these terms at you, and you're like, what the hell is this? What is an EIP? What is BIP? What is these, Ethereum improvement? What you don't know. What's a GitHub? What's a repository? So it could become very confusing. Like when I first got started in crypto, all we had was a forum, and you had to just trust people, like literally, like all you could do is you had to literally just trust people, and that's how I got Burma Butterfly Labs. Like literally, they were taking like your Bitcoin, promise you they were going to give you an ASIC. Like I didn't know anything when I first got started. You just had to trust what you was reading in the Bitcoin Talk forum. Now you have so many resources and websites that becomes a problem too, because it's like, well, who do you trust? There's so many different people, and this one's selling this, and this one's selling that, and this one is telling you that Tezos is the greatest, and this one is telling you that EOS is the greatest, and this one is telling you to go buy BitConnect, and it's like you get confused, or you get schemed, or you get scammed. So I just feel like I'm going to meet people where they're at, start really small, and then after 2 or 3 months, cancel your subscription, and you could probably move on to somewhere else that may give you more resources. So I look at education like, you got an introduction level education, then you go a little higher, then you go a little higher, because there's so much to learn. Seriously, I promise you, like I learn new things every day. And I've been involved in this for almost 8 years. I've been in the crypto space for almost 8 years, and I learned something new every single day. Right? Like literally, I promise you, every day I learn something new, because it's so much going on. There's no way you can keep up with it. It's so much, especially with Ethereum and DeFi. Like there's just so much happening, and that's a beautiful thing. That's that's a beautiful thing that there's so much going on, which tells you there's a lot of opportunity if you get involved. Right? There's so much opportunity, and I just tell people, just get started. Like there's a lot of free resources. Or find somewhere where you can link up with someone. Find a community to get a part of, and just start building. And that's how it works. So let's see what's going on in here. Wow, we're coming up on an hour and a half. Time flies. Whew. Time flies. Big King, I was going to teach a course about Monero, the Tor network, the dark web, deep web, and my attorney advised me not to, because there could be legal implications if I start introducing certain types of things that people could do. So I'm not going to cover that type of stuff, because I'm not licensed to cover taxes and stuff like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to point you in certain directions, and then allow you to go down that rabbit hole. So I'll point you in the direction. I'll sort of show you how to use certain things, and then leave it up to you to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Because if I start trying to teach people how to evade taxes and stuff like that, then I could be committing a crime. So I can talk about those things theoretically, in theory, but if I come on here and I show you how to do those things, I would be breaking the law. So I had to roll that back about talking about stuff like that. So what I'll do is I'll talk to you about VPNs. I'll speak to you and I'll teach you about, the Onion router. And I'll talk to you about Monero and how you can buy Monero, how you can use DEXs with the VPN. Because a lot of these decentralized exchanges, you can't use them if you're in the States. So I'll show you how you can do that. But I can't directly show you how to evade paying taxes. So I have to legally be. My attorney was like, "Whoa, you can't do that." So when he saw that video, he was like, "No, you can't do that." So I have to be careful with certain things, and also you have to understand, I have a lot of trolls. I have a lot of people that hate me. So I have to be very, very careful about, and with me having a 7-day free trial, they can join the academy, and then they can basically, see what I'm teaching or whatever. So let's say the authorities or the IRS, they can join my academy for 7 days for a free trial, see that I'm teaching people how to evade taxes. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting in a jail cell or I'm getting sued or whatever the case may be. So I have to be smart about that. No, I don't talk about real estate, guys. I'm only focused on crypto. I told you that for the past year I've been going through a transition where financially I'm okay. I feel like I've outgrown day trading. I don't want to be doing day trading anymore. I just don't like the stress of it. I don't like the ups and downs. Although it's decent money, it's a lot that goes into it. I want to do something that's fun, interesting, and I want to do something where I feel like I can make a lot of money. Day trading gives you a good lifestyle. Day trading will make you stable. But you cap out at a certain point, right? Like at a certain point with the type of strategy that I have and the type of trading that I'm doing, like I can't get bigger. Like I've hit my ceiling. Like there's no more room for growth. And as I was saying to you guys before, like if you look at people who make a lot of money with technology, there are people who build things. Like investors capture wealth, but the people who build things, they capture wealth as well. And I want to be a builder. So I've been spending the past year really getting into the whole, like, developing, programming, looking at different languages. I did a couple of coding boot camps. Like, I really just want to get into something that I feel is more fulfilling. And I feel like I want to make some big money, right? I don't want to make a couple $100,000 a year. Like, I want to make the big money. I'm talking about, 10, 15, 20, $30 million. That's what I'm doing big game hunting now, right? So I'm not really focused on the small stuff, which is why I tell you guys all the time, markets are like pendulums. You got a $300 billion market, less than $300 billion. That's a tiny market. There's so much room for growth. The stock market is heavily saturated. You have the best and the brightest and the smartest people there. They have the best infrastructure, the best connections. It's hard as hell to compete with those people. In crypto, it's easy because literally it's wide open. Think about it. I told you guys this before. In 2010, 2011, 2012, if you knew how to build apps in the App Store, you were killing it because there wasn't a lot of competition, right? So just by default, the fact that there weren't a lot of people developing apps in the App Store, you made a killing because you were first. Back like when Teespring first launched, I was making a killing on Teespring. I was literally copying NFL t-shirts. I was copying so many different t-shirts designs from the NFL.com website. They sent me a cease and desist letter. I was just literally copying and pasting, the Indianapolis Colts, the Giants, and putting it on a t-shirt on Teespring. And then I would use the Facebook scraper I had, the tool. I would take user IDs, put them in a custom audience, and just run traffic to it. Back then, ads were dirt cheap on Facebook because a lot of people wasn't advertising like that. And I was having custom audiences, and I was making a killing. Why? Because I was just one of the first. I was just lucky to be one of the first people. Now everyone sells t-shirts on Teespring. So that opportunity isn't there because the market's more efficient now. But most markets, like when you first get involved in them, because there isn't a lot of competition, you're going to make a killing just by default. Like when you think about Ethereum, a lot of people don't know how to program and develop in Solidity. They just don't. A lot of people don't. It's a new language. They don't use it. So if you know how to do that, you're going to make a killing because it's not a lot of competition. Right? Right. Like that's just the reality. So like I'm excited about crypto. I like the challenge that it gives me, learning different things, challenging things, like challenging yourself. Like I like that. Like I've been playing around with this DApp thing that I'm trying to build right now. And like every day I find like a different bug. I find a different problem. Like I like it. It's problem solving. So I want to do something more fulfilling and I want to make some real money. We're in the middle of a wealth transfer, right? Think about it. Like it's a tidal wave coming. It's a tidal wave coming. You're sitting here and you're watching this big wave, but it's not a wave of water. It's a wave of money, right? Like $89 trillion is over in the stock market, 89 trillion. And you're sitting in this little puddle right over here in this crypto market that's less than 300 billion. You're sitting in a little puddle and you're just waiting for that tsunami of money to come. It's coming. We see Grayscale. We see Paul Tudor Jones. We have people like Chamath. We see the big boys are coming. Load up your boat and just ride the wave, and that's what I'm doing. I'm loading up my boat. So that's where I'm focused at. I'm focused on riding that wave. And if you guys want to ride the wave with me, if you guys want to ride the wave with me, we can ride that wave and we can make some money together. Right? If you want to ride the wave, we can ride the wave. You can learn. You can learn what I know. You can start to ride this wave with me, and we can go from there. And as I said before, as you outgrow the academy, because I feel after 3 or 4 months, you should outgrow the academy. You move on to other places, right? Depending on how far you want to go. Some of you just want to learn how to buy and sell crypto. Okay. After about a month in the course, you'll learn that. Some of you may want to go a little bit further, just learn some more technical detailed things. Okay, you may learn that. Some of you may want to go and seek employment. Okay, well, we're going to give you the basics and the foundations as web development and utilizing JavaScript and getting into the whole Solidity thing. And then after that, again, you're going to have to move on and go other places. Like, that's just the reality. Like, you go to elementary school, you go to middle school, you go to high school, then you go to, a 2-year college, 4-year college, then you get your master's degree, then you get your PhD, like, depending on where you want to go. So if you want to keep going further, you keep going further. So I like Chainlink and ETH, great filibuster. I curb back my Cardano position. Charles is he's making a lot of promises. I've been in the crypto space too long. You can't keep making promises for years, and it's just not happening. Like, when you see Ethereum, it's hot. The Ethereum blockchain, man, it's hot right now. Every day, everywhere you look, there's just development happening. It's on fire. So I with a good conscience and just keeping it real with you, I can't recommend that you park a lot of money in Cardano, based upon what's happening with the project. But then now you have to think about the other side, right? These markets can be manipulated and pumped because there's very, very small market caps. Like, let's just pull this up before I get ready to go. I want to show you something. Like people ask me about Ripple. I hate Ripple. I think Ripple was garbage. I wouldn't put any money in Ripple. But, right, when you come here and you look at Cardano, where's ADA at? Right here. When you look at Cardano, it has a $2 billion market cap. This thing can easily double. We're talking about a cryptocurrency that's 7 cents. If Cardano goes from 7 cents, let's see what the all-time high is. I believe it's somewhere in like 50 cents or 30 cents. Let's pull it up. Right? This is just, it's not complicated. No, I was wrong. It's $1.20. If Cardano pumps, just think about it. If the crypto market just goes back to all-time highs, and you're holding Cardano from 5 cents or 7 cents, and it goes to $1.22, you're laughing to the bank. Right? You're laughing. If you right now are holding Cardano, because we know that these markets, they can become irrational. We see the Fed printing trillions of dollars, right? So we know that there's enough money out here to pump Cardano. So from the technology standpoint, I'm not impressed. But from a market standpoint, from a valuation, it's $2 billion. If it goes from 7 cents back to all-time highs, you're laughing to the bank. So if you're a person and you're like, hey, listen, man, I got a few $1,000s. I'm willing to gamble. Right? I'm willing to gamble on it. I'll put a couple thousand in there. You may 10x your money. You may 5x your money, right? So that's the thing with crypto. Like, look at DentaCoin. Let's pull up DentaCoin. Let's see if I can find DentaCoin. Let's see if we can find DentaCoin. Right? Let's look at DentaCoin. Like, this is pure garbage. But look, at its all-time high, it was 8 cents. Right? All-time high. So, like, can it go back to all-time highs? Can it pump from, look how, it was less than a penny. Can it pump back to 8 cents again? It could. We're talking about crypto here. So you have to understand that. So if you're holding bags of these coins, like, what was the cryptocurrency that I got burned in? Substratum. I lost a lot of money in Substratum. The project was supposed to be decentralizing the internet. And I didn't believe in the tech or nothing. I just, I didn't even read a white paper. It just sounded like a good idea. I had some money lying around. I put a good amount of money into it. Project tanked. Ended up getting delisted from everywhere and ended up being a scam coin. I got burned. Right? But I played in other coins and I made a lot of money. So that's just the way crypto goes. Some coins are going to pan out and other coins are going to burn you. I got burned in Substratum. Everyone's not going to be a winner. But when this market pumps, everything pumps. Everything. Even if it sucks, it pumps. Like I said, look at Dentacoin. When the market was pumping, Dentacoin pumped. So if you had 1,000 Dentacoin, you made a lot of money. It's the reality. So let's see what's going on here. So, okay, we on an hour and 40 minutes. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to end like this. Expect the government to attack crypto. Expect it. It's going to happen. We are trying to destabilize and take over the banksters. And the Rothschilds, the DuPonts, the Wahlbergs, the people who run the world, the globalists, the industrialists, they're not going down without a fight. So expect a fight. What you're seeing happening right now happen in the world with these protests and stuff like that. Are there forces behind them? Yes. Are people trying to manipulate and, manipulate people's fear and anger and anxiety? Yes. But there's a real movement of anger and frustration. It may not be targeted in the right place. It may not be channeled in the right way, but people are upset. But through all of this chaos, order will eventually come. And I told you guys, there will be opportunities. Don't believe in all of this doom and gloom. There will be opportunities. You just have to ask yourself, are you positioning yourself? So, yes, they're going to attack Generation Z. Generation Z is going to attack back. Many of you are part of Generation Z, and you are a quote-unquote Zoomer, and you hold Bitcoin. And I've been a part of a lot of different crashes. I watched Bitcoin go from 1,000 back down to the 20s and $10. I watched it go up to, 5K and crash. I watched Bitcoin go up to 20K and crash. I just buy more because I understand when it's all said and done. We're watching it right now. All they can do is print money. If you read The Creature from Jekyll Island, you understand very clearly all they can do is print money. All they can do is do bailouts. And the only way to beat deflation is inflation. And we have a aging population. Boomers are leaving the market. That means money's going to have to flow out of the stock market. Boomers consume less. We have a debt-based, consumer-based economy. So we're in a deflationary spiral. So the only way to get out of it is to create inflation. Well, how do you create inflation? You print money, right? So we know what's going to happen. So now it's just a matter of, are you going to stay solid? Now, that's just from an investing standpoint. You can play in the stock market and you can make money in the stock market. My bets are, I'm hedging myself with gold, precious metals, mining stocks, and crypto. That's where I'm at. And I want to build something in crypto. That's what I'm focused on. And I'm going to continue to keep being focused on that, and you should be too. So will they ban Bitcoin eventually? Absolutely. Will they make it illegal to use your fiat to buy Bitcoin? I absolutely believe they will do it. They made buying gold illegal at one point and owning gold illegal. So expect the same thing to happen with crypto. Don't fear it, embrace it. Get you a hardware wallet, run a full node, manage your keys. Don't let people know you have crypto, and be smart about it. And that's that. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to hop off here because we're coming up on an hour and 40 minutes, and these lights are extremely hot. I'm probably going to have to get rid of this setup. So please like this video, share this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, join the mailing list so that you can be notified. My social media is below, my Instagram. If you want to be a part of my Tech Academy, we have a free 7-day trial. And with that being said, guys, I will see you tomorrow, probably around the same time, 7:30-ish, 8 o'clock. Have a blessed and beautiful evening. Well, my mouse just died. Looks like I might have to stay with you guys a little bit longer. Looks like my mouse died. So it sucks for having a wireless mouse.